My parents disowned me for rejecting Cornell. 10 years later they called about my inheritance. I, 28F, never thought I'd be writing this post, but here I am, staring at my phone, trying to process what just happened. 10 years ago, I made what seemed like a simple choice to me, but was apparently unforgivable to my parents. I chose to attend community college instead of accepting my offer to Cornell. The decision wasn't made lightly. I'd always been the perfect daughter. Straight A's, debate team captain, volunteer work that looked great on applications. My parents were both successful professionals with Ivy League educations. My father was a third-generation Cornell graduate, and it was just assumed I would follow the same path. But during my senior year I realized something. I had no idea what I actually wanted to study. The thought of spending over $200,000 on an education I wasn't passionate about made me feel physically ill. Meanwhile, our local community college had an excellent transfer program and would cost a fraction of the price while I figured things out. When I announced my decision at dinner, you would have thought I'd said I was joining a cult. My mother burst into tears. My father's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. They couldn't understand why I would throw away my future and embarrass the family like this. I tried explaining my reasoning, that I could transfer later, that I needed time to explore my interests, that the financial burden would be so much less. But they weren't hearing it. The argument escalated until my father said words I'll never forget. If you choose this path, don't expect any support from us. Not a penny. I thought he was bluffing. He wasn't. Within a week, they had frozen my college fund, removed me from their health insurance, and told me I had until the end of the month to move out. I was 18, suddenly homeless, and completely cut off. My aunt, my mom's sister, took me in temporarily, though it created a huge rift between her and my parents. I got a job waiting tables, found a tiny apartment with roommates, and started classes at the community college. Those first 2 years were brutal. Working full-time while studying, living on ramen, learning how to file taxes and budget on my own. But I discovered I had a passion for environmental science, something I might never have found if I'd gone straight to Cornell for the business degree my parents wanted. I made the dean's list every semester. After community college, I transferred to a state university with a scholarship, graduated with honors, and landed a job at an environmental consulting firm. Over the years, I built a career I'm proud of, met my partner, bought a small house, and created a life completely independent from my parents. I tried reaching out a few times in the early years, sent cards on holidays, emails with updates about my life, but they never responded. After a while, I stopped trying. My aunt kept me updated on major family news, but that was it. I grieved the loss of my parents while they were still alive and eventually made peace with it. Then yesterday, out of nowhere, my phone rang with my father's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. His voice sounded older, more fragile than I remembered. He said my grandfather, his father, had passed away 2 weeks ago. I hadn't even known he was ill. Apparently, Grandpa had left me something in his will, and they needed my information for the lawyer. I felt numb. The grandfather I'd been close to as a child but hadn't seen in a decade was gone, and I was only finding out because of paperwork. My father cleared his throat awkwardly and then said, "Your mother and I have been thinking. Perhaps we were hasty in our reaction back then." 10 years of silence, and that's what he had to say. Hasty. When I didn't respond, he continued, "You've done well for yourself. We've kept tabs through your aunt. The environmental work, the house purchase. Your mother found your professional profile online." I still couldn't find words. They'd been watching my life from a distance all this time, but never reached out until they needed my signature for an inheritance. "We'd like to see you," he said finally. "Maybe for dinner next week? We could catch up." I told him I needed time to think, and ended the call. Now I'm sitting here, overwhelmed with conflicting emotions. Part of me wants to tell them exactly where they can shove their dinner invitation. Another part is that 18-year-old girl who still desperately wants her parents' approval. The inheritance doesn't matter to me. I've built my life without their money. But I can't help wondering if this is an opportunity for closure, or just opening old wounds. My partner thinks I should hear them out, but set firm boundaries. My aunt says my parents have mellowed with age, and losing Grandpa has made them reflect on their own mortality and estrangement from their only child. What would you do? Meet with the people who abandoned you when you needed them most? Or protect the life and peace of mind you've worked so hard to build? Update. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses and support. After reading your comments and talking more with my partner and aunt, I decided to meet my parents, but on my terms. I suggested a coffee shop rather than dinner at their house, somewhere public where I could leave easily if needed. We met yesterday. It was intense. 10 years of silence creates a lot of empty space to fill. They looked older than I expected. My mother's hair has gone completely gray. My father seemed smaller somehow, less intimidating than the man in my memories. After awkward small talk, My father got to the point about the inheritance. Apparently, my grandfather left me his lake house, the one where I spent summers as a child. He also left me a letter, which my father handed over. With shaking hands, I read it there at the table. Grandpa wrote that he'd always respected my choice to forge my own path, that he had followed my career through online searches, and was proud of the independent woman I'd become. He apologized for not reaching out directly, saying he'd been caught in the middle and handled it poorly. The letter was dated just 3 weeks before his death. I couldn't hold back tears. My grandfather had been watching over me in his way, even if from a distance. Then came the difficult conversation. My parents admitted they had been wrong to cut me off completely. My mother said watching her father's decline made her realize how precious family relationships are, and how easily they can be lost. My father, ever the practical one, acknowledged that my educational and career choices had proven successful despite the unconventional path. It wasn't quite the heartfelt apology I might have wanted, but I could see it was difficult for them to admit any fault at all. When my father mentioned that perhaps I could sell the lake house and use it as a down payment for a more suitable home in a better neighborhood, I realized some things hadn't changed. They still thought they knew better. I politely but firmly told them that I loved my house, my career, and the life I had built. I thanked them for meeting me and for delivering Grandpa's letter, but made it clear that if we were to have any relationship moving forward, it would have to be based on mutual respect for the adult I've become, not the daughter they wished I'd been. The conversation ended civilly, if a bit tensely. As we were leaving, my mother asked if she could hug me. It was awkward but not unwelcome. I don't know what happens next. There's too much water under the bridge for us to ever have a normal parent-child relationship. The inheritance itself is complicated. I'm not sure I want to keep the lake house with all its mixed memories, but selling it feels wrong too. What I do know is that I'm proud of the path I chose and the person I've become. 10 years ago, I was devastated when they cut me off. Today, I realized that their abandonment, while painful, forced me to become self-reliant in ways their financial support never would have. I'm meeting with the lawyer next week about the inheritance. As for my parents, I've agreed to occasional phone calls to see where things go. Small steps. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't capable of giving you what you need. The family I've created, my partner, close friends, my supportive aunt, they're the ones who have been there for me consistently. That's something no inheritance can buy. Thank you again, Reddit. Writing this out and reading your perspectives helped clarify my thinking in ways I didn't expect. I'll update again if anything significant develops with my parents, but for now, I'm at peace with where things stand. Final update. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and a lot has happened. I wanted to close this chapter by sharing where things stand now. After much consideration, I decided to keep the lake house. It needed substantial work, but it's been a healing project. My partner and I spent weekends fixing it up, and in the process, I reclaimed those happy childhood memories that had been overshadowed by the estrangement. As for my parents, we've established a cautious relationship. We talk on the phone every few weeks, and have had dinner together a handful of times. It's not perfect. There are still moments of tension when they slip into old patterns of trying to direct my life, but we're all making an effort. The most significant breakthrough came when my mother visited the lake house and saw the renovations. Standing in the updated kitchen that I had designed myself, she said something I never expected to hear. "You've made better choices for this place than I would have. You have good taste." Coming from her, this was monumental. My father still struggles more with our new dynamic. At a recent dinner, he mentioned a job opening at a colleague's firm that would be more prestigious than my current position. When I explained that I was actually being considered for a promotion at my environmental firm and was happy there, he seemed genuinely confused why I wouldn't want to change paths. Some habits and expectations are deeply ingrained, I suppose. What's changed most is my perspective. 10 years ago, their rejection devastated me because I had been raised to believe their approval was everything. Now, while I appreciate the steps toward reconciliation, I no longer need their validation to feel worthy. The inheritance turned out to be more than just the lake house. There was also a modest investment account my grandfather had set up for me years ago. I've decided to use part of it to establish a scholarship at my old community college for students pursuing environmental studies, honoring both the educational path that changed my life and my grandfather who ultimately supported my choices. My parents were puzzled by this decision, saying the money would be better invested elsewhere. But for the first time, their disapproval didn't sting. I simply said, "This is important to me," and left it at that. If there's anything I've learned through this experience, it's that sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most rewarding destinations. Had I followed the route my parents prescribed, I might have a more prestigious title or address, but I wouldn't have discovered my own strength or true passions. To anyone facing a similar crossroads, trust yourself. The people who truly love you will eventually respect your choices, even if they don't understand them immediately. And those who can't may come around in time, or they may not. Either way, you'll build a life that's authentically yours. Thank you for being part of this journey with me, Reddit. Your support helped more than you know.